my landlord, my landlord who lived upstairs from me, after my girlfriend, who eventually became my wife, and I moved out of my mom's house, we moved across town in Dumont to a friend of ours whose father owned a building, a small apartment. His name was Steve. And he's kind of like if you took Bernie Sanders and Doc Brown from Back to the Future and smashed them all together, right? It's fucking perfect. Bernie Sanders and
That's where Kansas came from.
Yeah, right? I always tell a story. Steve would come downstairs, he'd knock on my door and I'd open the door. He'd be like, Michael! I've got this great idea for a song. And then he'd light up a cigarette. He'd be like, come outside. And I would go outside and hang out with him, and he would tell me, and we would have these awesome conversations. And Steve and I, we got really, really tight. And make sure this thing's in tune. So one day, he knocked on the door, and I had, after I got home from the military, and I decided to become an EMT, and I went to EMT Academy, and I loved heavy rescue. I got trained and certified in heavy rescue, and that's what I started to do. I started to ride on an ambulance, and not very good pay, and I was mixing the record, and again, I was praying, Lord, show me the way. If it's your will that I'm going to be a musician, then that's okay. But if not, that's fine too. So I was an EMT, and I was working. I was volunteering for Dumont, and one day, I had the headphones on, and I was working on illusions. I was mixing illusions, and I thought I heard the tones go off. I'm not gonna lie to you. I heard the tones go off, and I just kind of ignored it. I was hoping that somebody else would respond. Because I answered a lot of calls, man. Is there any firefighters or anybody? Firefighters, EMTs. For real? Shit. Huh? I know. What the fuck y'all do? I was kidding. But when you're a volunteer in a small town, during the day, people work, and so that's why they're, mutual aid calls like a motherfucker. No one's answering. Here, have someone else help. So I heard the tones go off. I kind of ignored it, and then I took my headphones off and was like, and then I heard it was the door. So I opened the door. All right, then it's Steve. Michael. So I come outside. He's like, I never heard. We lived at the top of our block, railroad tracks, and it was a CSX line. So it's a freight train. He said, I never heard the train make that sound. I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, the train stopped. I'm like, well, usually, if the trains put their brakes on, it's crazy. It sounds insane. Then it clicked on me as I'm talking to Steve. I'm like, wait a second. The train stopped. The freight train never, ever stops unless there's something really wrong. So I put two and two together, and I ran inside, and I hit the repeat on the tones on the radio, and the call was man versus train, and they gave me it was like Niagara and Madison Avenue, which was right up the fucking road, right up the road from where I was. So I got in my truck, I backed out, I drove up the street, and the train had stopped. Man versus train means that somebody got hit by the train. So I get out of my car, and it starts raining, and I jump through the cars, and as I'm stepping over the part that holds the box cars together, I look, and I can see right there's a guy laying there, obviously the dude that got hit by the train, and there's two Dumont police officers, one's a female, one's a male, and it starts raining, and the Dumont mental health facility is right there. It's a small place. So I'm the senior medic on scene, And as I come up and I do my quick assessment and everything, I could see that the female cop was a rookie, and the male cop as well was really young, and they had never seen anything like this. Guy was conscious. There's a bone sticking out of his thigh right here. His head was split. It wasn't bleeding that much. He was breathing. His rib, I could tell his ribs were broken. And I took out my trauma strips from my pants and I handed it to the woman officer. I said, "You got to cut his clothes off." And as she reached for my trauma strips, I could see her hand shaking. And I told her it's going to be all right. Just start cutting his clothes off. We called out to the rig. The paramedics are on his way. This guy was clear. He was pretty lucid for someone that just got hit by a train. And so I do my whole thing, and I'm seeing what's wrong so that when the other medics show up, I can tell everybody what's going on. And so I'm asking this individual who was laying on the ground a series of questions. I'm going through everything, and I asked him, are you on medication? Are you allergic to anything? Have you drank? Did you drink today? I'm trying to smell his breath. Nothing. He kept on telling me, "I just had a bad day." And so we load him into the rig, and I pray. And as I'm doing, I'm praying. This guy lost consciousness once. He got hit by this train. The train was only going about 30, 40 miles an hour. So when it hit him, it busted him up really, really good. It threw him probably about 20 or 30 yards from where the train struck him. And it started raining, so it was really, really hard to do patient assessment in the rain. You can't, it's really, really tough. So we get him in the rig. There's a medic in the back. I'm in the back because now him and I have a rapport. I remember looking at his wallet, and I could see the pictures of his kids. He was married, his wife. It turns out he was coming from the Dumont Mental Health Center, and he just had a bad day. He saw the train coming, and he made the decision that he didn't want to go home that night. And God had a different plan. Him and I were going to meet. So I'm in the back of this ambulance, and I'm praying, "Please, Lord," because he had life-threatening injuries. His ribs were all busted up. I couldn't tell if he was bleeding inside. His blood pressure was getting lower, and low was trending down, which is not a good thing, as you know. And so I'm asking God. I'm like, what is? I can't. When your line of work is that sort of thing, I had seen a lot of people busted up. I was in heavy rescue, so I would ride with the hospitals, and I saw a lot of car crashes. I'm the guy that would walk in when your mom or grandma was having a stroke. Or I remember there was a child was suffering from carbon monoxide poisoning. It was a lot. Lord, if this is what you want me to do, I'll do it. But the guy that got hit by a train, he lived. My point to this story, and then I'll play you the song, I promise. My point to this story is that this was a point in my life that I understood that the Lord wanted me to get to people before they stepped in front of that train. That I was a great medic. If you're messed up and bleeding and busted up, you definitely want me to show up because I'm a good medic. Really, really was. Am. But it kept me up at night. It kept me up at night. Those things were very, very haunting that I saw. It was very hard to flush it out of my mind. But that's the thing, and that's the message from that. I was sitting in the back of that ambulance that day, and I knew that I had to get back to music. I had to get back out on the road. I had to get back to all of you so that we can have nights like this, so that you can hear my songs and meet me and say, "Man, it's so funny. Like, you're this famous guy, and you're so easy to talk to you." And, I want to get to all of you before you step in front of that train. I think I heard something funny up the road, he said. I never heard the train make that sound before. I think I but checked the scanner because of that. I swore I heard a call. Oh man, I hope that what I thought I heard was just inside my head. The repeat confirms that it's something really bad. So I drive up the street. When your time is up and you had enough, please just wait for me. No one knows you're tough and you had enough. I'll stay right here with you. I think I've been going this stuff. It makes it hard to see where you're bleeding. I've done all this before, man. I've seen it all. It's a broken heart that needs treating. Oh, and I hope that what I thought I heard was just inside my head. The repeat confirms that it's something really bad. So I drive up the street. When the time is up and you had enough, please just wait for me. No, I know you're tough and you've had enough. I'll stay right here with you. When your time is up and you've had enough, please just wait for me. I know you're tough and you've had enough. I'll stay right here with you. Not to be a total bummer and bring you down, but shortly after that, I don't know, maybe about a few months later, Steve slipped, fell down the steps, and hurt his hip. Soon after that, he was diagnosed with lung cancer. And I remember sitting up with him after a while, and he had gone to the doctor a bunch of times, and he was diagnosed with, like stage 4 lung cancer. It was crazy. It was everywhere. It seemed like overnight. And he had to make a decision, a hard decision. He had kids, 2 daughters, young, one of which is younger than me, and his other daughter is just about my age. Steve was he was an individual, but he was so. He was an incredibly selfless person. So when it came to, I remember sitting with him saying, well, what are you going to do? And I remember sitting there with him when he made the decision to die. He didn't want to get any treatment. He didn't want to, as he said, he didn't want to burden anybody. He didn't want his daughters especially to see him go through that. And he didn't want to, as he kept on saying, I don't want to burden anybody. I don't want anybody to have to help me. It was incredibly brave, and it was incredibly selfless. And for the next couple of months, myself and his daughters, we sat with Steve, and we were there up to the moment that he passed away. And it was really, really, really difficult again for me, and everything kind of, at that point in my life, that was it. And I had hit rock bottom again, emotionally. From all the stuff that I've gone through in the past, you've been with me now for 2 hours. and a lot of tragedy, and that was it. And it sucked the life out of me. But I bounced back, and a whole bunch of other stuff happened that I don't have time to get into tonight. I got to time the show better. But for real, my whole point to this is that I'm at a point where I'm going to be 45 years old. And again, I'm not interested in being famous. I don't care about how many followers I have. I could care less. What I care about is, like I said, getting to you before you step in front of that train. I realize that this music that I've written by myself about all of these things that have happened to me, and the worldview that I have, that I've put into songs about my life, my experiences, my time. After I do that, and then they go out into the world and they find you, for some strange, mysterious reason, it affects you too, right? You feel these songs. You listen to Dig Up Her Bones and Crying on Saturday Night. They affect you. You didn't know probably 90% of what I told you tonight, and there's a whole lot more. Some of it even sadder. But whatever the reason that is in my life, it's made me stronger. But so I've realized along the way that these songs, when they get to you and you internalize them, and it animates your physical, it animates your soul, and it makes you feel things about your life. And it makes you remember things in the past, maybe hope for the future. Right? Maybe you're on the way to work and you're having a shitty day and you put on Famous Monsters or you put on Illusions, and it makes you feel good, or makes you feel empowered, whatever it does something. And there is magic in that. It's powerful. And I've realized that it's come through me, and it's an amazing thing. All of you are my blessing. That's what I figured out along the way, and it was there all the time, right? And I started this saying about it's not about me, and it's not about the things in my life. But I realized that I'm here in this world because of and for all of you. And it's when I meet all of you and you come up and you talk to me and you smile, some of you get nervous around me. It's an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing because that's the energy and that's the effect that I've had on people's lives. And to see that truly empowers me and it saves me. I say to people as often as I can that I've been in this business 25 years. Been all over the world. There's only a couple of places I haven't been. And people come up to me all the time. They say, Michael, your music, your life have saved me. And my message to the whole world, to all of you, is that all of you, individually and collectively, have saved me many, many times over. I'm the guy in the back of that ambulance. So I thank you. I thank you very, very much. I'll play one more song for you. And then I'd love to meet all of you. I hope you had a good time tonight. I know that there's probably been more talking than you thought there was going to be. And again, I appreciate you. Make sure that my guitar is tuned before I play this song. I play this song because, like I said, God is very important in my life. as you've just heard for most of the night, there's been a lot of times that I've not been able to find anything in the physical world that helps with the pain or the hurt or the courage that I need to get through the things that I need to. I'm no different. You know what I mean? My life is no better or worse than anybody else. But for me, it's the blessing and the strength of God that has gotten me through and has given me the sight to be able to see these things so that I don't wind up in a ditch somewhere. So I want to play you this song because I love you. It says in the Bible that if you put your trust and your love in something bigger than yourself. I know some of you don't necessarily believe in a God. That's cool. We don't have to talk about that tonight, but I do. And it says that if you put your trust and your love into God, that He sets your feet upon rock, puts a new song in your heart. And that's the strength to go on. It's actually Psalm 40. And that's my hope, like I said at the beginning of the night, that we leave here and my words, my story, and my music go with you. And so that when you're dreaming your dreams of being a musician, you remember tonight and you say, I can do it. Or if, I don't know, maybe I have inspired someone to be a construction worker tonight because there's no one here. And they say, you know what, I can do this. Or maybe you're going through something and tonight perhaps might get you through the next bit of what you need to get through. So thank you very, very much. I appreciate you. I love you. Before you leave, come up and say hello to me. This is a song called New Song. Again, thank you everybody at Rampworks for allowing me to come here and try this out and get this tour going. This is the first time I've stood all night, too, while I've done a show like this. Goodbye. I'll see you again another day. It's hard walking away. I'll be back this way again someday. Till then, I hope that things will be okay. When the world catches fire, you've gotta hang on. Say it'll be alright. I'll just sing a new song. I'll just sing a new song. Say hello to all the people that I know. Tell them I'll see them again. I'll be back this way again someday. Till then I hope that things will be okay. Catches fire, you've gotta hang on. Say it'll be alright. I'll just sing a new song. When the world catches fire, you've gotta hang on. Say it'll be alright. just sing a new song. Thank you. Good night.